Our guest is John Hawkins with The Hill. He's the spokesman for NotMittRomney.com. Hello, John.
Hello, it's great to be on with you.
Yes, sir. Tell us, what exactly is NotMittRomney.com?
Well, it's something I got together to put together with a friend of mine, Ali Akbar, some other fellows. What we're trying to do is say, listen, we don't want Mitt Romney as the nominee. A lot of people don't want Mitt Romney. Can we at least have one guy that conservatives like as our candidate? We went through this in 2008.
Here's my problem with that, John. Here's my problem with that.
Yes.
Are you aware? I mean, stop and think about it. Do you know how much money Mitt Romney has spent on his teeth so that he could be president? And then you're going to go and do this website saying he shouldn't be the president?
Well, in all fairness, he spent probably just as much on his hair. So it's tough, man. It's tough. I know it's not.
I live in Rick Perry's state, so Rick Perry can out-hair Mitt Romney any day.
We all could probably take some tips from these guys. They should be out doing websites to explain to us how they have that magnificent hair.
Well, it is disturbing. I interrupted you. Tell us how this site came about.
Well, I got together with Ali Akbar. I said, listen, my friend, we don't want Mitt Romney as the nominee. What can we do about it? Let's put together a website. And all we're saying is, and this is something I hear all the time. When I was at Right Online months and months ago talking to conservative activists, somebody came up to me and said, how in the world can Mitt Romney be in first place? I don't know anyone who likes him. And we're the people who vote in the primaries. So we want to come out and say, look, we'd like a candidate other than Mitt Romney. It could be Rick Perry. It could be Herman Cain. It could be Bachmann. It could be Newt Gingrich. Just not Mitt
Why
Romney.
not? What is wrong with Mitt Romney?
The biggest problem I have with him, and this is at the core of every problem I have with the guy, is you don't know what he stands for on anything. When he ran in 1994 as a Republican against Ted Kennedy, you had Romney version 1. That's a guy who was a left-of-center Olympia Snow type Republican. Then he governed as a moderate center-right Republican. Then he was Reagan reincarnated when he ran in 2008. Now he's whatever you want him to be.
John, you have an encyclopedic knowledge, and you've done a lot of research on Romney. For most people, particularly our show is in Houston, Baton Rouge, San Antonio, Portland, soon to be in Nashville, and a lot of people listening on iHeartRadio. For a lot of these folks, Romney first came on the scene in 2008. Let's go back. If you have some time, let's go back. Walk us through that election against Kennedy.
Well, when he ran against Ted Kennedy, this is back in 1994, he was a left-of-center Republican. He said things like, I don't want to return to the era of Reagan-Bush. He was against the contract with America. He was a die-hard advocate of abortion. He went to Planned Parenthood fundraisers. He was an advocate of gun control. Think Olympia Snow.
How do we know that he went to Planned Parenthood fundraisers?
Well, that's out there. It's confirmed. They had a controversy over whether he donated money while he was there or not, but it's confirmed that, yes, he went to Planned Parenthood fundraisers.
All right, keep going. I want to slow you down because a lot of what you're saying, I think, is going to be the first time people have heard this. Okay, so he's running against Kennedy. And, you know, I've even read some bloggers have said that there were issues where Kennedy's position was more what we would call traditionally conservative than Romney's.
Yes, and his whole thing was, listen, if you guys elect me, I can actually do more for the left coming from the right because I'll be a Republican who's saying these things. I mean, everybody expects Ted Kennedy to say them, but a guy like me, I can lead from the left and pull the party over that way. He actually made that argument. I mean, he was a down-the-line, left-of-center Republican. That's exactly what you were getting in 1994. In fact, he bragged that he used to be an independent during the years when Bush and Reagan were in there. So this is the guy, this is the first time Mitt Romney came on the scene in 1994, and he was not as an independent. He was not a Democrat. He was a Republican saying these things, and this is just, 15 years ago? It's not so long. So
John Hawkins is with the Hill. What do you do for the Hill?
I actually am with I actually have written for the Hill, but I am with Right Wing News. I write for Town Hall. I am the token conservative on the Huffington Post.
Oh, okay.
So I do all those things.
The website he's talking about is notmittromney.com. All right. So then let's progress through his elections and the problems you have with Romney from there.
Sure. Romney then gets elected. He was elected as governor of Massachusetts, and he governed as a center-right Republican. He wasn't Jim DeMint. He was probably just to the right of center. And you look at his signature issue while he was governor, Romney Care. I mean, does that really make you go, wow, this is a guy I want as president? That's the one thing he did is Romney Care. And everybody has noted quite correctly that Obamacare was at least was based, at least in sort of part, on what Romney did. His own consultants have said, listen, we worked on Obamacare. But here's another thing that people don't keep in mind. He lost to Kennedy. He was not a popular governor. When he left office, his popularity rating was in the 30s. That's what his approval numbers were. And he would have lost if he'd run again. Is this a guy who's really all that electable? That's the big argument people make. Well, this guy is so electable. There's nothing in his past that makes you think this is a particularly electable politician. In fact, the reason he's not a career politician is he lost elections. If he'd beaten Ted Kennedy, he'd be on his third term in the Senate right now.
Other than Romney Care, well, first of all,
Yes.
What I found interesting, I saw on O'Reilly a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3-4 weeks ago, and I wish I had recorded it. I did record it, and then I ended up deleting it. But O'Reilly had a breakdown on, by the way, our guest is John Hawkins with NotMittRomney.com. O'Reilly had a breakdown on what happened in Massachusetts and how bad that has been on a problem that he handed off when he walked out of office, that he handed off to the next governor and to the state's taxpayers and the cost overruns to meet the mandates. But what I found fascinating was here was a state where 94% of the population already had health care. So you're doing universal health care to capture 6%. So was this a Romney initiative because he believes in it in his heart, or was there an outpouring in Massachusetts that this needed to happen and he got out in front of the parade?
I think it's probably more the latter because I don't know if there are any issues he has in his heart. And I'm serious about that. When I look at Mitt Romney, I literally don't know what he thinks about anything because he will go whichever way he thinks is the most politically pragmatic at the moment. And guys like that don't do well for us when they get in office. At least that's what I find. But you can go back. There were a lot of issues that you look at Mitt Romney that people don't know about. For example, people dinged the heck out of Tim Pawlenty when he got in because he flipped on global warming. But Mitt Romney has done that too. Mitt Romney was he's still probably to the left of most people. He says in the Republican Party, he says that global warming is caused by man. He says that he actually pushed his own 9-state cap-and-trade initiative. This was something that was like cap-and-trade on the state level for 9 states. It failed. He also was an advocate of gun control. This is a guy who signed an assault weapons ban in Massachusetts. Do you trust him now on guns?
Do you think that Mitt Romney was involved in Kim Kardashian's divorce?
As far as I know, he was not. But I will say that if Mitt Romney becomes president, the terrorists will win.
John, can you hold with us for just a moment?
Yes.
The website is notmittromney.com. Check out the website. Send me an email if you have a question for John. We're going to talk to him more. He's part of a group of bloggers and different activists, consultants, columnists, and insiders that are increasingly saying we're going to have to mobilize and pool our resources so that we don't end up with Mitt Romney. We all know that as Republicans, we're going to spend the next year the months after we align on a candidate pushing a not Barack Obama. But shouldn't we make sure that the candidate that's not Barack Obama is the best we can get? And I think that's what NotMittRomney.com is designed to achieve. We'll talk more about things you may not have known about Mitt Romney with John Hawkins coming up. NotMittRomney.com. You were taking us through the evolution of Mitt Romney and wrong on guns, and not just positions, but things he actually did. Wrong on guns. He was attending Planned Parenthood fundraisers. Let me ask you, do you get a sense of what drives Mitt Romney? Is this because to me it seems to be that this is a guy who has a sort of sense of entitlement. He's somewhat aristocratic, and he likes to think of himself as this titan of business and then this titan of politics.
Well, maybe I have just a general different view of politicians in general. I think the sort of guys like Mitt Romney tend to be the ones who rise a lot of times. They're guys who don't believe in a lot. Because the truth is, if you're really honest and upfront with people, everybody says that's what they want. But at the end of the day, what they really want is someone to tell them what they want to hear. And they vote those guys into office. And that's how they keep getting in. I mean, if we voted for people who were honest and were really going to do what they said they were going to do, we'd have very different people in Congress right now. Congress wouldn't have an approval rating that's in the single digits. It'd be up at 50, 60%.
Right. So, NotMittRomney.com is funded by?
It's actually just a bunch of us who got together. We don't have any. We haven't been funded by anybody. Nobody's given us any cash. I actually suggested to Ali that we do it. He got together, started working, and we have about a half dozen of us who've been doing the core work. Tea partiers. Ali is a consultant. I'm an independent professional blogger. So that's the kind of guys that are working on this.
Do you get the sense that these are people primarily with any one of the other candidates? Are these Kane supporters or Paul supporters or Perry supporters? There aren't actually any Huntsman supporters, so
no. I think there's him and his wife, but no,
I'm just impressed the
Ali
dude's
and
married.
I haven't endorsed anybody. Some of the other people, I think we have one guy who's Kane and one guy who is Perry. I think we may have a Gingrich one in there too, but I don't. It's not any core group of politicians. We're just all united in the idea that we don't want Mitt Romney.
Dude, we apparently just crashed your website. I'm getting emails from people saying that the site is temporarily unavailable because you're experiencing abnormally high traffic volume. That's very cool. Well,
that is very cool.
Hang in there and save the site. It's NotMittRomney.com. So how long does this effort go? Let's say Romney does win the nomination. Then what?
We'll do the right thing. We'll suck it up and we'll vote for him. There's a time and a place for everything this type of thing amongst Republicans, and it's the primaries. And once it's over, if Romney wins, and we'll spend a long, painful year defending a guy we don't like. That's what you have to do, I think. We don't have to do it, but I think it's a smart thing to do because as bad as he is, I tend to think he would be better than Obama, almost because you couldn't be worse.
And obviously there's the disturbing belief out there, if you're one of these people that, like I do, that thinks we can't afford 4 more years of Obama no matter how bad the Republican is. I think a lot of folks at this point have this very sour belief, hey, if Romney's the nominee, I'm packing it in because I'm not going to let him destroy the Republican Party. We'll wait 4 more long years and replace him with a Reagan.
How well did that work out this time? Because
Well,
I heard that a lot when McCain went out.
Right.
And then let's see, we got Obamacare, we had the $1 trillion stimulus, we got 2 liberal Supreme Court justices, and I couldn't stand McCain, but I sucked it up and I voted for him. And I'll do the same thing for Romney if it happens. But I think the key thing, I think the time to fight this stuff out is now. And I think what I'd really like to do is to get someone in there who we like so that we can actually be thinking, oh, boy, we're not just replacing Obama with another guy we don't like. We're actually putting someone in there who might be able to do something good for the country.
What's the most disturbing thing in your mind that voters need to know about Mitt Romney that drives you to do NotMittRomney.com?
Well, let me put it this way. Do you remember when Nancy Pelosi was talking about Obamacare and she said, we've got to pass it to find out what's in it? Well, that's what Mitt Romney is. He's a candidate we've got to make president to find out what he's going to do.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
That's going in the Hall of Fame.
And we're getting ready to do it with the President of the United States if we get Romney. We're going to have a guy, and we don't know what he will do on any issue because he has pretty much taken every position on every issue. You never know where he's going to end up. It may depend on what the polls say, his advisors say, but we already have got one guy in office whose every promise comes with an expiration date. Do we need 2 guys like that battling it out to be president? I don't think we do.